Welcome to Win Games, Strategies for Success. Today we're looking at how to win Super-Skill Pinball 4K or any victory point game. And by that I mean we're going to look today more at the process of analyzing the game. So it's not so much the final strategy we're hooked on, it's how do you get there? What are the key questions to ask and answer in order to come up with a winning strategy for a victory point game like Super-Skill Pinball 4K? And we're going to be looking at the Carnival board. It's the simplest of all the boards to analyze, so let's jump right in. The first question you want to ask in attempting to get the highest score out of a victory point game is not where are the big points. That's the third question. The first question you want to ask is, what's stopping me from winning? What's the limiting factor? Why do I have to quit scoring? Why do I have to stop playing? And sometimes that's a certain number of turns. Sometimes you're limited by the number of resources you have or can acquire. In this case, what's stopping you from playing are flipper squares and in-lane squares. Once you run out of those, no amount of finagling is going to allow your ball to stay on the board. It falls out and you lose a round, 3 rounds, and you're out. So the first question is, how do I optimize this area of the board? That is, how can I make sure that I get as many of these flipper squares used as possible? Let's take a look. So notice the numbers available to you on flipper squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, as well as this 2, 3, and this 4, 5. If we look at that in terms of an isolated game, how do I keep alive if every time I roll, I have to eliminate one of these? Then what's the best strategy? Well, you want to leave yourself as many options as possible. In this case, I can knock out the 2 or the 2, 3, but clearly having the 2, 3 is more helpful than having the 2. In this case, either the 1 or the 3 occur as a single, but you'll note if I take out the 1, I can't use a 1 for the rest of this run. So eliminating the 3, although not the 3 that occurs with a friend, would be the best choice. Now I'm stuck between these two. And for reasons that we'll get to in a moment, you'll want to preserve this multiple number space until you're forced to eliminate it. And that strategy, now we're out, of always eliminating a single before a double and favoring things that still have other ways to get them. I don't eliminate a 6 if I can eliminate a 5 because I have another way to get a 5, will be the best way to get the most out of your flippers. Now, another question we would ask is, how effective is that strategy going to be? If I were to keep playing this game, how many of these can I get down? That time I rolled a lot of 2, 3s right off the bat and I was out. In general, it turns out, if you play this strategy, there's a very good chance that you'll get to 6 of these. Maybe 7 and occasionally 8. But the chances of getting to 6 are very good. And you can see we did it here. We were able to eliminate 6, leaving us with a 2 and the 2, 3. A lot of this has to do, 7, go for it. Not quite 8. And a lot of this has to do with the probabilities associated with rolling 2 dice, but only needing to use one of the numbers. This leads us to the second question we need to answer in a game like this. And that is, what can I reasonably expect to occur? So again, we're not looking for big points yet. We want to know, if I were to play this with minimal strategy, how many resources do I expect to get? How many times am I going to run through, say, the bumpers or the targets? How many flipper hits do I expect to get? And that's governed a lot by probability. So let's take a look. If you've done anything with dice probability, you're likely familiar with this sample space up here. It's all the ways for 2 dice to be rolled. And if we look at these in terms of what is the likelihood I get the number I want, it breaks down like this. If you can use all 6 of the numbers, clearly 100% of the time you'll get a hit. If only 5 of the numbers 1 through 6 are viable targets, let's say you've used all the 3s on the board, you still have a 97% chance of hitting one of those other 5 numbers between the 2 dice that you roll. And as you move down, you'll notice even when you get down to a single number, I have to get, say, a 2. You have a 31% chance of rolling a 2 on one of these 2 dice. And the biggest one for us is when there are 2 targets, it's better than half. that you're going to get a hit. That's one of the reasons we like to keep those double numbers open on the flippers, because it gives us a very good chance at staying on the board. But it also gives us a good idea of what we're going to get as the ball passes through the board here. We've established that we're going to get 6 to 7 passes through the board off the flippers each round. We'll get 3 more additional passes when we come off the start. Those don't cost us a flipper. And we could get 2 more from the multi-ball. That'll give us a total of 24 passes down the board over the course of the game. Now, of course, some of those don't go through the Ferris wheels to get a skill shot. Some of them don't have a shot at the strongman. But we can take a look in each section at how many passes we have and what that could produce. We will come through the Ferris wheel likely 15 times with a 100% chance of hitting one of the cars on the first time through, 89% the second, and 56% for the third. That gives us about 4 passes per skill shot, resulting in 3 skill shots, maybe 4. When we move down to the strongman, we're going to get a shot at that feat of strength about 10 times, 31% of them hitting. And that'll give us about 3 hits. We might get a 4th. Looking at the bumpers, 24 passes through, plus some extra from good sequencing, passing from bumper to bumper. But eventually they fill up, quite a few misses. There's a good chance that we're going to fill that up almost twice, somewhere around 24 points plus doubling. We'll also have about 24 passes through the drop targets, and it takes 7 hits to drop both sets. So if we miss 3 of those 24, we could still drop both sets 3 times each to get all 6. More realistically, we're probably looking at 5 sets of drop targets down. So over the course of the game, we're going to have 3 to 4 skill shots to work with, 3 to 4 hits on the feat of strength, about 2 trips through all 12 bumpers, and 5, maybe 6 sets of drop targets down to give us 5 or 6 of those bonuses to work with. And that can be modified by the nudges or the skill shots, but it's going to result in about 100 points if we don't play strategically. Now we get to apply strategy and see if we can double that. Which means we're finally ready to ask question 3. Where can we get a lot of points? And the lot of points is going to come clearly from here. That 20 sticks right out at us. The bumper is the other area when we talk about what's keeping me from continuing to play. The bumpers can give you a little bit of infinite play, and you can dramatically increase the probability of hitting another bumper if you have this bumper times 2 bonus going. You're looking at 4 possible numbers then if you were here and they weren't all filled up. Not only that, but the scoring on this allows us to stack times 2s. So if we had the bumper pass going, there's a very good chance we could knock around here quite a while and hit bumpers. And if the multi-ball was going in addition to that, we would be getting 4 points every time we hit one of these numbers. So that's one area we will want to certainly focus on. We like this 5 and 20 up here, but even better if we hit them while the multi-ball is going. The challenge is, and this is the case in a lot of these victory point games, you can set your heart on something that seems impossible to do. We said we're only going to average about up to 4 in a normal game. It would take a heavy focus to try to get to 5 and 6, and doing that while the multi-ball is going would be even more difficult to time, except for this right here. The feat of strength lets us fill 2 spaces, which means if you give yourself the whole game to fill it up to 4, that's not an unreasonable task. And then you could trigger a multi-ball on this side and a feat of strength on this side to get 50 points by covering these 2 squares of the strongman space. So that's another high output point that we would want to go for. And the last is our ability to double the outlanes. If you can go through an outlane while it's doubled and you're on a multi-ball, if all of these flipper spaces are filled, that would be 24 points. Now 24 is not more than the 50 we could get here or the 4 points a hit times who knows how many bumping around the bumpers. But it is a significant amount, so that would be our third possible objective to go for. So here's how we're going to swing it. In the first round, we are primarily looking to set up these target drops. We're only going to get to come through here 7 to 8 times, which means there's no point in dropping a set of targets right before all of your flippers filled up and you fall out. Perhaps you could use the flipper pass during the first round, but what likely would be the best option is to eliminate 2 of the ducky targets and 3 of the balloon targets so that when you start the second round, you are immediately ready to trigger the bumper bonus and the multi-ball and start getting 4 points a hit as we bounce around in these bumpers. During the second round, we go straight for the bumpers, but we're also trying to set up that same situation with the targets. After we've dropped both of them, we're trying to fill this one up first because round 3 we want a multi-ball, and we're trying to get this one filled up so that we can then, once we have multi-ball going, hit that feat of strength and get these top 2. That's only worth it if we filled up the strongman. So we're certainly going to put as much energy as we can into filling up the strongman. That's where your skill shots come. That's the one situation where you have to get a single number, well, in addition to these 2 targets. So we're going to use our skill shots to try to fill the strongman throughout the game. And we're going to go for almost all of the drop targets filled in each round to set up the next round. If we have time at the end, we'll fill this last set of targets one more time and trigger that outlane bonus while we're doing the multi-ball to try to get some extra points. Let's give it a run through and see how it works. No choices here. Flip the first card. As we come down through here, an interesting strategy choice that we didn't discuss. When you want to get all of those points out of the bumpers in round 2, the best thing to do is to have all of these open. So interestingly enough, we're going to completely skip the bumpers every time we come through in the first round. Now that would seem like a ridiculous waste of possible points. But when you consider that every one of these is worth 4 points when I've got my double bumpers and my multi-ball going, and it's only worth 1 point right now, I'm actually losing points if I clog this up for the second round. We took the 4 because it's the harder of all of the flippers drop targets here to put down. When we come down to our flipper, recall we want to stay away from the 1 if we can because we only have 1 of those. So we'll come in on the 5 for 2 points. Rolling up through the skill shot. We also want as many of those as possible. Skipping the bumpers. And we're going to take the 1, 2 on this side, because I want to leave as many of these open for that red flipper as possible. It doesn't have the option of going all the way up top. And I still have a 1, 2 open up top for my yellow flipper. There's the 1. We'll erase all those, and our skill shot is always determined by what we need for the strongman. In this case, that's the 1. I would like to have gotten one of those. As I didn't, I'm looking to hit over here. If I had rolled, say, a 2 and a 4, I probably would have used up one of my bumpers just to make sure I got one of these flippers every time. But in this case, I had left my red side open so that when I took a shot and missed the strongman, I had something to hit. We take the 6 because we don't want to eliminate the double flipper. And we're really hoping for... there it is, the 1 on a freebie. Now, I could have done that last time with my skill shot, but I had something to hit over here. It wasn't going to be wasted. I use my skill shot if there's going to be something wasted or if the time has been ticking a little too long on that. As I drop back through, there's nothing I can use, so I'll take the 1 here. And now I've set up round 2 exactly the way I want it. I have 2 flippers left to go. I'd rather that wasn't on a 3, but it is what it is. And I'm just going to play the rest of it out, attempting to maybe exit on an out lane, using up as many of these, hoping to pick up, perhaps an extra couple of spaces. There it is, on the strongman. Don't want to do anything in here anyway, so I'll drop here through to the 2. And right now, I'd just like to pick up one of those. If I don't, I'd like to go out on a 6. Hey, we'll take it. Now, as you consider which of these you want to take, I'm going to hit the 3-4, and the reason is when my next ball comes in, I then have something to do with it on a 1-2, something to do with it on a 3, and something to do with it on a 5-6. So I'm keeping as many options open as possible. So while these would seem to be equally advantageous, you want to look at what are my options going to be from both the start or the flippers when choosing between two. Didn't get it, didn't get an out lane, not worth nudging for. So we're going to drop out. That is for the strong man, can't nudge an out lane. So that's the end of round 1. And we've only scored 10 points. But this is the equivalent in an engine builder game of getting your engine going early. We're setting ourselves up to score more later. You don't take every possible point early, you take what's going to give you the best shot at the most points. Let's show how it works in round 2. Immediately we get a skill shot. We're going to take that skill shot on a 3. A 3 is not only advantageous for the strong man, if we get desperate on trying to trigger the bumper ×2, we can use our skill shot. Though we would prefer to leave those for the strong man. Dropping through on a 4. That's bad news. I don't want to go down to my flippers before I've knocked these down, so I'm going to pick up one of these. It's probably going to cost me 3 points for having taken it cheap, but hopefully it'll give me a better shot at turning the bumpers over. That is, filling them all in and getting to do all this craziness again. Hit the 5-6 here. We're going to trigger the multi-ball for a point. Erase the drop targets. First, I'm going to look down here, because I can take any of those up here. Oh, but that 3, that's what I need in order to get these doubling. That's worth it. I'm going to take my 6 down here, which is going to make my flippers a little tougher. But I'm going to drop all the way into the 3 for 2 points, doubled because the multi-ball is going. I will erase those drop targets and take my bumper ×2. And here I am now with 1 flipper down, 2 when he gets here, and these will all be able to kick around up here in these bumpers, only 1 of which has been used. We'll come down on the 5 for 4 points, and we'll go up on the 1. 1, 2, 3, 4 points. Jump down to the 5 here, and up to the 2 here. And I would note, if I had been hitting these bumpers in round 1, we said I'd probably get about 8 points out of them. I just got 8 points in a single roll by keeping them open. So this is well worth it. Let's see how long we can stay up here. 5 and a 2. Well, nice for now, but I've just eliminated 2 numbers. But don't overlook how long it takes to get 8 points. This is good. Every time we hit 2, we're picking up an additional 8 points. So this is the jackpot. Now the real value is if we can turn this whole thing over, there's nothing to stop us from doing it again. Very unlikely that we would do it in 1 run. 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Drop down here, pick up the 1 over here for 2. But because we were able to start it early, we have all these flippers to get another shot at that 6 and go at it again. And I'm filling the right side first because in round 3 I need to trigger that multi-ball before I can accomplish my feat of strength. I'm going to want to drop down here on the 3, so I'll shoot up on the 5. Well, the time has come to use my skill shot here on a 3. Because if it's not going to come up to here, I will at least want to get a drop target out of here. We'll drop all the way through to the 4 on this one. 3, 4 on the strongman. 2 carries nicely down here and gets me 4 points. The 3 picks up the hard to get on the red side, and now I'd really like a 6 to turn over the bumpers. There it is. 6. And we keep the other ball alive. We then get to erase everything and go at it again. 3 and a 5. 8 more. Oh, and we drop out. 6 for 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll take the 6 over here for 2. And if we can just get one more shot into this, there it is. Oh, no, it's not. We've got the 1. And this 1 is no longer useful as a skill shot for here. So I'm going to see if I can... Wouldn't be worth it. We drop out on a 6. We now have round 3 completely set up. And the only thing to do with this is to get as many shots up here as we can. Bumpers are still doubled before we fall out. That's 100. But I would note, when we talked about only having 10 points after round 1, we're now at 105 because we set it up instead of taking those extra 8 bumper points or the extra couple of drop targets we could have had. Totally worth it. Round 3. Immediately, we drop all the way down and trigger for 1 point the multi-ball. We erase those drop targets. Now we still need to pick up this 4 before we can drop that and hit our feat of strength. Let's see if we can figure out a way to do that. I like the 3 down here because it gives me a shot, and the 1 here. Didn't get the 4, but you know what? It might be time to nudge. You know, I don't think so. I think we're getting enough honest shots at that 4. The danger of nudging is there's a 1/6 chance the whole game ends. So unless you're going to get quite a bit more points than you're possibly going to lose, it's best to not nudge till it's a sure thing. I would absolutely nudge if it was going to get me the 50 points, but I'm not going to nudge to get me a chance at 50 points. Pop over to the 3 here for 2 points. He's hanging out up here because I want to have the best shot at knowing what number I need to hit on the flippers. There it is. So it gives me a chance to get that skill shot on a 4. So we got it the honest way. No risk involved. He's going to drop down to the 1 here. And the reason I'm filling this again is because I'd like a chance at the outlane bonus. So he hits the strong man and he drops down to earn the points. Almost. Got the strong man on the skill shot. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now it's a question of whether I want to use the skill shot to hit it now or whether I think I can get it honestly. And I still have 1, 2, 4, and 5 going down here. So I'm actually going to drop down over here with the 3. That's a tough one to hit. And that'll give me a better shot at the outlanes. I still think I have plenty of time to pick up the strong man. 5 and a 6. Well, now that's going to require some doing. The 5 comes here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to need to skill shot a 1 to keep this guy alive. I prefer a skill shot to a nudge because I don't want to lose all my points. A 4 and a 5. We'll shoot them both all the way up. It's very helpful to have a skill shot on a 1 or a 6 when you go for this outlane because you can't nudge to get to the outlanes. But I'm not nudging at all until there it is. definitely skip the 2 on the bumpers to get down to this one here. Trip that for 2. I take the feat of strength, fills those 2, erases it, and we got 50 points. The question then is, what do I do with the 6? I can't take it here, I can't take it here, but I can keep it alive because I've just cleared those targets for 2 points. I'd like to go out on the 6, but not until I get that outlane bonus. So I'm gonna nudge a little bit to try to hit these flippers one last time. Now at this point, oh, no need to nudge. It's a whole lot less risky to nudge because what you stand to lose is not the 50 points that were in play. Those have been earned. I'd really like to get that 4. But we didn't quite do it. I can't come up to the 5. I can send 1 all the way up to the 2. And I'm going to nudge that 5 just a little bit over to a 4. Sorry. To a 4. And there we did it. When we hit that 4, we triggered our outlane bonus. And I can now drop out a 1 or a 6, and we've got the 1. So this guy's going to come out the 1 here. And we're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Doubled is 12. Doubled is 24. Doubling here, and also doubling on the multi-ball. We survived the nudge. And we're now taking this 4. Stay alive for 2. The doubling continues from the multi-ball until you start a turn with a single ball. Erase all of these. A 4 is awesome because that's the only thing I had left. And what I'd really like is this 6. If I can get the skill shot on a 6, that would be super helpful. Didn't get it, but I will nudge to get it. I'm going to nudge by 1 to grab that skill shot on a 6. This outlane isn't worth 24 anymore. It's only worth 12, but it's the big points worth having, and the worst thing that happens is I tilt. Didn't tilt. I will skill shot. Oh, no need to skill shot the 6 yet. Might as well grab some points on our way out. 2 for a point. The outlane bonus is active. Come out here on the 6, and we're good to go. 5, 10, 11, 12. I would note when you're talking about tilting or not tilting, if you look back at your probability sheet, the probability of tilting, if you've only nudged by 1, is 17%. Anytime you nudge by more than that, it gets dramatically larger. And a tilt situation is an expected value. What's the probability times how many points will I get? What's the probability times how many points will I lose? So if you have a 5/6 chance of making 1 point, you ought not to be risking more than 5 points on the 1/6 chance that you lose it all. And that's it. We have just scored 127 points on Carnivore.